Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Aussie StarCraft. We're super excited to be bringing you some more action from IEM Shenzhen. Now, of course, the winner of this tournament will be allowed to compete in the IEM World Championships later on in the season. So, obviously, high stakes on the line, not to mention some WCS points and plenty of prize pool. So, let's start with a quick introduction of our player. Blue Terror in the top right hand corner needs no introduction at all. He is LiquidTaeja, and he's been absolutely tearing it up recently with just a flawless performance in DreamHack recently. Just played fantastically and absolutely showing that his Terran is one of the toughest things to beat in the current environment. We'll see what he has for us in store today. The bottom right hand corner is our red Zerg player. We haven't seen him on the channel in a while. It's going to be Starcraft Life. So of course Taeja Vs Life in this best of 3 series. I do love both these players. We're super excited to see what they've got on hand for us. Not to mention that it's also one of the newer maps. So Nimbus is of course very different to a number of maps in the previous map pool. Something we've never actually seen or not seen in recent memory is this sort of ramp into the main base. It's actually a small ramp, but as you can see, it does have destructible debris, so potential for actually quite a wide ramp into the main base, particularly as the game goes on. So quite difficult to wall that off once that is blown up. It is the main base, not a natural expansion. You do have a safe natural expansion behind your base, of course, still dangerous for things like drops along this area, but relatively safe. You can expand to that quite freely whilst walling off a relatively small choke point. So a few different dynamics as we can see both our players going for quite greedy openings. We see our Zerg player naturally expanding very quickly. 15 hatch there. Taeja likewise has gone supply depot into a command center up in the expansion. So both players playing relatively greedy. Taeja will finish that wall off with a barrack. So both players going for quite economic openings here. It'll be interesting to see if they decide to go for a longer macro game. Nimbus, of course, is a 4-player map, so neither player quite aware of where the other's spawning out. Now, both players actually scouting in the wrong direction, so this will be a little bit interesting. Allow these relatively greedy openings to go unpunished. Taeja throwing down his refinery now. Get some of that Vespine gas rolling in. We see Life already grabbing his extractor. Going to have Zergling speed very quickly. Now Life has 2 opportunities here. He is scouting out with these overlords. Will very quickly discover that Taeja has not only taken this expansion quickly, but already going for his gas as well. It's not a gasless opening from the Terran. So Taeja is just going pedal to the metal on his economy, and that gives Life one of 2 choices. One, he can either get greedy and macro up himself, throw down a 3rd hatchery very quickly, or he can go for some sort of 2-base Baneling Zergling all-in, or even some sort of Roach Baneling bust. Generally, we'll see the Zerg player throw down at least a 3rd hatch. They like to fake that they're going for a bigger economy and then use the extra lava to really push the aggression. We'll see just what he goes for. SCV is going to throw down this hatch, and that makes me think that Life is going for either the economy, or he's decided he did intentionally wait for the SCV to throw it down. I think we may well see Life try to bust this, and we actually see Taeja going for a 3rd very greedy CC inside the main base. So this is as macro as you can get for Terran. Taeja, of course, going to replace that barracks with a bunker. Slightly more resilient there at the doorway, allow a few Marines to hop inside and shoot the poor Zerglings from the safety of the bunker. Taeja, though, very greedy in this game. If this isn't exploited by Life, he will face a very difficult mid-game. 3-base Terran, exceptionally tough to break. We see Life has droned up quite consistently. Zergling speed has begun, and the 3rd base is almost completed. So Life has a number of options here. The fact that we see 16 Zerglings on the supply line makes me think Life is going to get aggressive. Life's Zergling control is fantastic. If you want to be jealous and you're a Zerg player, you ought to watch Life. Let's see what he can get done with these. It is always impressive to watch his micro. He can get more done with Zerglings than most players can get done with other units. Let's see if he can make them work. He has produced quite a lot of Zerglings. We have 14 more in production. 26 already on the field. There's a phenomenal amount of Zerglings. Currently still Slowlings making their way out across the map, but Zergling speed is about to kick in. These poor Marines scouting out. They decide that that perhaps isn't the safest option. These Hellions moving out just a little bit quickly across the field. They could well get picked off by these Zerglings if they're not careful. Zergling speed has now kicked in. We can see that there is in fact 39 Zerglings on the field, so plenty of Zerglings to do damage here. Chasing a poor SCV up the ramp is going to be barbecued Zerglings for lunch. And the third CC is now in orbital command, so we have Taeja just going macro mode over here. Engineering bays going down, second and third barracks are going, but there are not a lot of units actually on the field for Taeja. We do have a Banshee coming up, but if we check out the units tab for Taeja, it's 2 Marines and 4 Hellions. If these Hellions don't get a lot of work done here, it could be very painful for Taeja. We see the Banelings are now morphing. They have safely been built up in this top location. These Hellions are coming back. Taeja senses something's wrong. Not enough drones at this third base. He knows it's all on, but these Banelings already moving up the ramp. There are Hellions here, but the Zerglings trying to clean those up. Banelings allowed and bust straight through the front door. Zerglings fighting Hellions here at the potential third base, but Life has already made it into the main base. Banshee going to be trying to clean up these Banelings. Banelings trying to morph in front of a poor SCV, but even this SCV is doing his duty, not backing away from potentially devastating consequence. Life continuing to produce more Zerglings. Zerglings on the production tab. We have 20 streaking across the map, 14 in production. Taeja unfortunately unable to wall back in. These Zerglings could well beat their way up the ramp. The 6 Hellions here, going to be plenty to try and hold this off. How many workers went down? We saw 6 workers did go down that encounter, but Life, it's Zerglings all day, every day, as he continues to produce units here. This is very much an all or nothing attempt for Life. If he can break Taeja, he will win the game here and now, but unfortunately for him, he's ignored droning for far too long to be able to resume a macro game at this point. If we look at the Harvesters tab, it's 51 to 26. He needs to make something happen. Taeja has gotten very greedy here. We see these Banelings walking into the mineral line. These are potential very juicy detonations. We see more Banelings. These poor SCVs going to get cleaned up here at the natural expansion. More Zerglings going to town in the main base. These poor SCVs taking a lot of damage. Banelings making a sprint for the ramp. Poor Marines, they can't catch up. These poor SCVs at the top of the line. It's going to be beautiful connections on those Banelings. You see 35 workers have gone down. The third base is in disarray as Life's Zerglings and Banelings just continue to take a heavy toll on this Terran defense. The Banshee firing from above going to allow both those Banelings to be cleaned up. Very important for Taeja. This Banshee's allowing him to try and recover some semblance of order. If we look at the Harvesters tab, it is 19 to 29, so Life has finally gotten himself back into this game, managed to take out enough workers to actually make a dint in Taeja at this point. We see the supply of Taeja is starting to really plummet here, down to as low as 37 supplies. Banshee up to 14 kills. It is very literally the last line of defense. A few Marines here going to be bolstering the line, but Taeja needs to resurrect this door. His third base is all but denied at this point. Up in the air, Zergling camped out underneath it. Taeja could really use pulling back and trying to rebuild this doorway, ensure that no further Zerg units can get in, and indeed he is going to choose that option. The fact that he has no saturation either of his bases makes this a very smart choice. Doesn't really need to saturate a third base when his own main and natural are well and truly struggling here. We have 2 medevacs moving out. Life streaking across the field with more Zerglings. This drop could actually catch Life in a very precarious position. Dropped on the high ground, out of vision. This third base could well face a lot of pressure from Taeja's nice multi-prong aggression. He's got lots of defense. This command center has 700 or 800 health. That's going to allow it to hold quite nicely. These Zerglings could take this command center down, but this drop in the third base for Life, looks like Life will tap out there. And what a action-packed Zerg vs Terran game. Only 13 minutes long, but felt like much longer. Both these players going at it tooth and nail from the very start of the game. We see the units lost tab. Actually very even between these players. The economy obviously quite favouring Life at this point in time, but the army supply really not there for Life. He managed to do the dint in Taeja, but didn't quite recover. Instead drone up. We can see that managed to drop an extra 20 drones into his drone line, which was great for his income, but unfortunately for Life, probably not the best timing there. If those had been units, probably would have done a better job of trying to hold this off. Some Banelings would have very much helped him hold this third base and allowed him to put some added pressure on in the main. Of course, these Marines behind the thick wall here going to be able to hold that all day, every day against Zergling. So, hope you guys enjoyed some quick Zerg vs Terran action. We have more IEM Shenzhen coming up on the channel right after this. So, if it's your first time with us here at Aussie StarCraft, we hope you enjoyed your time here on the channel. Plenty more Heroes of the Storm and Heart of the Swarm action, lots of StarCraft and other Blizzard games coming up on the channel, so tune in here at Aussie StarCraft. Thanks guys.